So the case I'm going to be discussing today is a breach of contract lawsuit that took place in Austin, Texas in 2009. It all started due to a fatal shooting by a police officer that led citizens and the victim's family to believe that there was an excessive force used in the shooting. The family of the victim did plan on suing the city of Austin because they were liable for the police officer's actions. They decided to not take this matter into court, though, and instead mediated on a settlement of $750,000. Okay, so they made this contract and implied several times that this deal was almost done, but there was just one more thing. They claimed that they needed to get approval of the city council. So they said that this city council approval was merely just a rubber stamp and a formality, again implying that the deal was almost completely done and it would have been validated post this happening. So the city then voted down the settlement, which left the family of the victims with no money, and so the family and their lawyers took this matter to court. And they filed a breach of contract lawsuit, stating that their contract had been made valid and that they were entitled to the money that they were promised. Okay, so if we look at the elements of this contract, we can better understand how the defendants say that the contract was breached. So we have an offer and acceptance. We knew that they offered them $50,000, and they accepted this money, obviously, because of the settlement. So meeting of the minds. They were both thinking of the same sale, so they both knew how much money was going into this, and they were both on the same terms. Consideration, this for that. So this is kind of hard to do in a civil rights lawsuit because this would be like the cop shot the guy, so that's this, and then that is the money that they're getting, I'm guessing. So the ability, all the parties were perfectly able to make this contract. It was perfectly legal because no illegal funds or anything was going into the contract, but we're left with good faith and in writing. And these two, my marker was good. These two are the worst ones that we have to prove. So good faith, we cannot say for sure that both parties knew exactly what was going into this contract. We have one side, the defendants, that say that the people that wrote this contract, the people that work for the city, did not tell them that the contract wasn't legally binding without the city council approval, because they said it was just a rubber stamp and a formality. So they thought for sure that they were already getting this money in the first place, in writing. They have no proper documentation, so we're left with an implied K. So an implied contract is something that's really hard to prove in court because there's no written, legally binding agreements. Okay, the judge dismissed the case on the grounds that the contract should not have been validated without approval of the board, and the judge claimed that this was clear during the mediation. So it claimed that both parties knew that the council had to approve it before they would receive any of their funds from the settlement. So, if we can learn anything from this, we need to make sure that, one, we get everything in writing. All of our contracts need to be legally binding if we're going to receive any of our funds. So we can't, the other side doesn't have any loopholes saying that, oh, it's contingent on this, or like we saw in this case.